My dear friends, let me begin by asking you a question. When was the last time you looked into the mirror and truly valued the person standing before you many times? Women see themselves through the opinions of others. What society says, what family expects, or what comparisons dictate. But the truth is, your worth is not defined by anyone else's eyes. It is written within you. A woman who knows her worth does not walk with arrogance, but with grace. She does not compete to prove. She radiates to inspire. She does not settle for less than she deserves, because she understands that her value is not negotiable. The world often tries to measure worth by external factors, looks, possessions, or achievements. But real worth is rooted in dignity, self-respect, compassion, and inner strength. When a woman realizes this, she becomes unstoppable, not because she conquers others, but because she masters herself. Self-worth begins from within, not from outside validation. This is perhaps one of the most important lessons every woman must carry in her heart. Too often, society conditions us to measure our value by external yardsticks. Our beauty, our status, our wealth, or even the praise and approval of others. From a young age, many women are taught to seek validation, a kind word from a parent, applause from teachers, or acceptance from peers. As they grow, this habit continues: approval from colleagues, admiration from friends, or affection from partners. But what happens when that external validation is not given? What happens when the applause stops? Many begin to question their worth, as if value only exists when others recognize it. But real worth, the kind that gives you dignity and strength, is not something others can hand to you. It is not a gift wrapped in someone's opinion. It is something you must recognize, accept, and nurture within yourself. If you wait for the world to tell you that you are worthy, you will spend your whole life chasing a mirage, because opinions will always change. Some will admire you, others will criticize you, and if you attach your value to their voices, your confidence will rise and fall like a fragile leaf in the wind. A woman who understands that her worth comes from within becomes unshakable. She does not collapse when someone disapproves of her choices, nor does she feel small when others fail to acknowledge her efforts. She knows her own heart, her own truth, and that knowledge anchors her. It is like a tree with deep roots. Storms may come, winds may blow, but she remains grounded. Think about it. If a diamond lies buried in the earth, does its value decrease simply because no one has discovered it yet? No. Its worth remains unchanged, regardless of recognition. Similarly, your value as a woman is not determined by whether people see it or appreciate it. It exists inherently. You are valuable not because someone calls you beautiful, intelligent, or successful, but because you simply are. The challenge, however, is that many women unknowingly give their power away. They let their self-image be shaped by comments, comparisons, or judgments. If someone says something hurtful, they carry it like a heavy stone in their hearts. If someone fails to praise them, they feel invisible. But remember, You are not invisible just because someone refuses to see you. The sun does not stop shining because clouds cover it for a while. Learning to draw worth from within is a journey. It requires silence, reflection, and sometimes unlearning old beliefs. It means looking into the mirror and saying, I am enough. Even if no one tells me so today, it means treating yourself with kindness, even when the world is harsh. It means celebrating small victories, even if others overlook them. And most importantly, it means not negotiating your dignity in exchange for temporary approval. When you stop depending on validation, you free yourself. You stop performing for applause and start living with authenticity. Your choices become clearer, your confidence steadier, and your presence more radiant. The energy of someone who knows their worth cannot be ignored. It speaks without words, it inspires without effort, and it uplifts without asking for permission. So remember, self-worth begins from within. Others may see your value or fail to see it, but neither changes the truth of who you are. When you learn to carry your worth inside you, the world outside can never take it away. No one can make you feel inferior without your permission. This truth carries within it a power that can change the way a woman lives her life. Many times, the hurtful words of others echo inside us longer than they should. A single negative comment, a dismissive gesture, or an unkind comparison can leave scars on the heart. But if we look closely, the power of those words lies not in the sound itself, but in the meaning we choose to attach to them. The moment we accept those words as truth, they begin to shape our self-image. The moment we reject them and recognize our own inner dignity, they lose their power. Think of it like a gift. If someone hands you a box filled with bitterness and insults, you have a choice. You can take it and carry it, or you can simply refuse to accept it. If you refuse it, the gift remains with the giver. Similarly, when someone tries to lower your sense of worth, you have the choice to either internalize their judgment or to let it go untouched. Your heart is your home. Not everyone deserves the key to enter. Often, the challenge is that we forget this choice exists. We hear criticism and immediately we shrink. We are told we are not good enough and we begin to believe it. But pause whether you are good enough. Who has the right to define your value? Is it the stranger who barely knows you? Is it the colleague who feels threatened by your success? Is it the relative who has their own unresolved insecurities? None of these voices carry the authority to define who you are. They may speak, but it is you who grants their words entry into your soul. A woman who remembers this truth walks differently. When someone mocks her, she does not crumble. She smiles because she knows mockery cannot touch her worth. When someone underestimates her, she does not rage, she simply continues her work. Knowing her results will speak louder than any assumption. She does not allow other people's smallness to shrink her greatness. But this strength does not mean arrogance. It does not mean ignoring feedback or refusing to grow. True wisdom is knowing the difference between constructive guidance and destructive criticism. One builds you, the other breaks you. One comes from love, the other from insecurity. When you know your worth, you accept growth without accepting insult. You learn from those who wish you well, but you do not bow down to those who wish to bring you low. This power of not granting permission to feel inferior comes from within. It is a muscle that must be exercised daily. Each time you refuse to let an insult define you, that muscle grows stronger. Each time you remind yourself, their words are a reflection of them, not of me, your heart grows lighter. Slowly, you discover an inner freedom, the freedom of no longer being controlled by the opinions of others. Imagine how liberating it is to walk into a room and not wonder, what will they think of me? But instead to say, I know who I am, regardless of what they think. That is the confidence that shines quietly without needing to prove anything. It is the dignity of a woman who knows that her worth cannot be borrowed from approval, nor stolen by insult. So, when life presents voices that try to belittle you remember this truth: no one can make you feel inferior without your permission. The lock is in your hands, and no one enters your heart unless you allow them to. And once you understand this, you begin to live not as a prisoner of opinions, but as a guardian of your own worth. Boundaries are a sign of self-respect, not selfishness. Many women grow up being told that they must always give, always sacrifice, always be available for everyone else. While generosity and kindness are noble, when they are practiced without balance, they lead to exhaustion, resentment, and eventually a quiet sense of losing oneself. The world often glorifies selflessness, but very few people talk about the importance of self-preservation. And that is where boundaries come in. A boundary is not a wall, it is a line of clarity. It does not push people away, it teaches them how to approach you. Just as a garden has a fence, not to keep out all visitors, but to protect what grows inside, a woman's boundaries exist to guard her dignity, her peace, and her energy. Without that fence, anyone can trample through, pulling at the roots of her well-being. But with healthy boundaries, she decides who enters, when, and how. There is a misconception that saying no is unkind. But in reality, every no to what drains you is a yes to what nurtures you. Every time you decline something that disrespects your time, your values, or your energy, you affirm your own worth. Boundaries are not rejection, they are direction. They teach others how to treat you and remind you of your own value. Think of how the ocean behaves. The waves are free, powerful, and limitless, but they stop at the shore. The boundary of the shoreline does not make the ocean less majestic. It makes it beautiful, contained, and balanced. Similarly, a woman who knows her worth creates her shoreline. She decides how much she gives, how deeply she allows others in, and when it is time to rest. This does not make her less kind. It makes her kindness sustainable. Without boundaries, life becomes an endless cycle of pleasing others while silently depleting oneself. A woman may smile on the outside, but feel empty within because she has given away her energy to people and places that did not honor it. Over time, this erodes her spirit. But when she begins to practice boundaries, something shifts. She feels lighter, freer, and more in control of her life. She realizes that protecting her energy is not selfish, it is sacred. There will always be people who resist your boundaries. They may call you difficult, or cold, selfish, but that resistance is often a reflection of how much they benefited from your lack of boundaries. Do not let their discomfort guilt you into surrendering your peace. Remember, those who truly respect and value you will honor your boundaries, not fight them. A woman who sets boundaries is like a flame. She warms those who come close, but she does not allow anyone to burn her out. She gives love, but she does not give it at the expense of her own soul. She shares her time, but she does not allow it to be wasted on things that drain her. She listens with compassion, but she does not allow her heart to be a dumping ground for negativity. Boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to healthier relationships, deeper respect, and a stronger sense of self. When a woman embraces this truth, she learns to walk with balance, giving, but not overgiving, loving, but not losing herself, serving, but not being enslaved. And that balance is what makes her strength graceful and her presence powerful. Being a daughter, a wife, a mother, or even a professional is honorable, but your worth is not limited to these roles. Too often, society places labels on women as if their entire identity is defined by the responsibilities they carry. While roles are important, they are like clothes you wear, necessary, meaningful, but not the essence of who you are. Underneath every role lies a deeper truth: you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you do for others. Think for a moment. Before a baby girl is given any role, before she becomes someone's daughter, sister, or student, she is already precious. People smile when they see her, they hold her carefully, they celebrate her existence. She is worthy without having achieved anything. Yet as life goes on, society starts attaching conditions. You are good if you obey. You are valuable if you succeed. You are worthy if you serve. And slowly, many women begin to forget that their true worth is not conditional. It is intrinsic. When a woman ties her value only to the role she plays, she becomes trapped. If she is appreciated as a mother, she feels worthy. If she is respected as a professional, she feels valuable. But when appreciation fades, or when those roles change, as children grow, as jobs shift, as relationships evolve, she may feel lost, as though her worth has disappeared with them. This is a dangerous illusion. A woman is not just the sum of her roles. She is a soul with infinite value, carrying dignity that no circumstance can erase. Imagine a candle. Whether it lights a palace or a small hut, its flame remains the same. The setting may change, the purpose may vary, but the flame's essence is unchanged. It is still light. Similarly, Whether a woman is serving her family, leading an organization, nurturing friendships, or simply resting in solitude, her inner worth does not fluctuate with the setting. It shines regardless. The problem arises when women internalize society's expectations so deeply that they start to measure themselves only by performance. They feel guilty if they take time for themselves. They feel invisible if their sacrifices go unnoticed. They feel unworthy if they cannot meet every demand. But pause and reflect. Who said your worth is tied to how much you do? Who said your value is a scoreboard to be calculated? These are illusions created by a world that often forgets the sacredness of simply being. A woman who knows her worth beyond roles carries a different presence. She fulfills her responsibilities with love, but she is not enslaved by them. She cares for others, but she does not neglect herself. She takes pride in her roles, but she does not confuse them with her essence. Her value remains steady, whether she is applauded or ignored, whether she is surrounded by family or standing alone. This understanding also brings freedom. When your worth is not bound to roles, you can adapt to life's seasons without losing yourself. You can step into new responsibilities with courage, and you can step away from old ones with peace. Life may change, but your essence remains untouchable. So remember, roles may define what you do, but they do not define who you are. Beneath every title, every responsibility, and every expectation lies a truth that is unshakable. You are valuable simply by being, and nothing can take that away. Comparison is the thief of joy and worth. From the earliest years of life, many women are subtly taught to measure themselves against others, comparing beauty, intelligence, achievements, or even lifestyles. Social media has magnified this struggle, creating a constant window into the curated lives of others. A woman may glance at another's career, family, or appearance and instantly begin to question herself. Am I enough? Am I doing enough? Am I as good as her? But in this endless cycle of comparison, joy begins to slip away like water through fingers. The truth is, no two lives are identical. Each woman carries her own journey, her own timing, and her own unique gifts. Trying to compare paths is like comparing the moon to the sun. Both shine, but in different ways and at different times. The rose and the lotus both bloom, yet neither diminishes the beauty of the other. So why do we insist on measuring ourselves against someone else's light, as if it should match our own? Comparison slowly erodes worth because it focuses attention outward instead of inward. Instead of celebrating what we have, we obsess over what we lack. Instead of appreciating our strengths, we magnify our weaknesses. It creates a cycle of dissatisfaction where no achievement feels enough because someone always seems to be doing more or having more. The danger is that, over time, a woman may forget her uniqueness. She may begin to chase after an image that was never meant for her, losing the very authenticity that makes her special. But when a woman knows her worth, she shifts her perspective. She understands that another woman's success is not her failure, and another woman's beauty is not her inadequacy. She learns to appreciate others without diminishing herself. She can clap for someone else's victory while still believing in her own. She realizes that life is not a competition, but a journey where each path has its own lessons and blessings. Think about it this way. When you walk into a garden, you do not expect every flower to look the same. The sunflower stretches tall, the daisy spreads wide, the orchid blooms delicately, and the tulip bends gracefully. Each adds to the beauty of the garden in its own way. If every flower tried to look like the rose, the garden would lose its charm. Similarly, the world needs each woman to bloom in her own authenticity, not to become a copy of another. Breaking free from comparison requires awareness. It means catching yourself in the act of comparing and gently reminding your heart, her story is hers. Mine is mine. It means replacing envy with gratitude, focusing on the blessings you already hold instead of what you think is missing. It means shifting from competition to collaboration, where another woman's light inspires you to shine brighter rather than to dim your own. When this shift happens, joy returns. A woman begins to celebrate her own journey with peace, recognizing that her pace is not too slow, her path is not too narrow, and her story is not too small. She begins to see herself not through the lens of comparison, but through the lens of authenticity. And in that space, her worth becomes untouchable because it is rooted in her truth, not in the shadows of someone else's life. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she attracts. This is a profound shift in how one moves through life. Many times, women are conditioned to chase approval, affection, opportunities, or recognition. They run after people, hoping to be loved. They chase validation, hoping to be accepted. They even pursue success in a restless way, fearing that without constant striving, they will be overlooked. But the truth is, chasing often comes from a place of insecurity. When you believe your worth depends on someone else's acknowledgement, you run after it. But when you know your worth, you realize that what is meant for you will naturally flow into your life. You do not have to beg for it. Attraction is not about arrogance, it is about alignment. When a woman stands rooted in her dignity, she radiates a quiet confidence that draws the right people, opportunities, and energies toward her. Just like a magnet does not run after iron, but naturally pulls it in, a woman who embraces her worth does not chase. Her presence itself becomes magnetic. She doesn't need to prove her value. It speaks for itself. Consider relationships. When a woman feels insecure, she might chase after love, trying desperately to keep someone's attention. She may compromise her boundaries, silence her voice, or lower her standards just to be chosen. But in doing so, she loses herself. On the other hand, a woman who knows her worth does not run after love. She understands that love rooted in chasing is fragile and temporary. Real love recognizes value, and when she holds her value firmly, the right kind of love recognizes it without needing to be pursued. The same is true in other areas of life. In careers, chasing approval often leads to overwork, burnout, and the feeling of being unappreciated. But a woman who knows her worth puts forth her best work, not to prove herself, but as an expression of who she is. She doesn't run after recognition, yet recognition finds her because authenticity and excellence are always noticed in time. Attraction is not passive, it is active in a different way. It means showing up as your true self without masks, without pretenses, without desperate attempts to please. It means carrying an energy of wholeness instead of lack. When you walk into a room with the belief that you are enough, you do not need to seek attention. Your presence naturally commands it. When you speak from a place of clarity and confidence, your words resonate without needing to be forced. There is a quiet strength in not chasing. It communicates self-respect. It tells the world, I know my value, and I do not need to beg for what is already aligned with me. This does not mean opportunities or relationships will fall into your lap without effort. It means you no longer exhaust yourself running after what is not meant for you. You learn to invest energy wisely in growth, in learning, in self-care, in meaningful connections. And from that space, what is right for you will come, not because you chased it, but because you prepared yourself to receive it. So, a woman who knows her worth lives differently. She does not beg for attention. She does not plead for recognition. She does not run after what is fleeting. Instead, she becomes a source of light. And just like moths are drawn to a flame, the right people, opportunities, and blessings are naturally drawn to her presence. She doesn't chase, she attracts. Your worth is not tied to your past mistakes. This is a truth many women struggle to embrace because the weight of the past can feel heavy. Every wrong choice, every regret, every failure can become a shadow that follows them wherever they go. Society, too, often has a way of labeling people by their mistakes, as if one chapter defines the whole book. But if you pause and reflect, you'll realize that mistakes do not diminish your worth. They are simply lessons, stepping stones that shape growth. Think of the most valuable diamond. Before it shines brilliantly, in the jeweler's display, it goes through fire, cutting, and pressure. Its surface is rough, its form unrecognizable, yet its value is never questioned. Similarly, a woman's worth remains intact even when life shapes her through difficult experiences and even when she stumbles. Mistakes may leave marks, but they also carve wisdom. They do not erase value, they refine it. The problem arises when we begin to identify ourselves solely with our failures. I failed in that relationship, so I must not be lovable. I made a poor decision, so I must not be capable. I stumbled once, so I must not be worthy of success. These are lies that the mind repeats until they become beliefs. But the truth is, every woman has the power to rise above her past, to rewrite her story, and to live beyond her scars. The past is not a prison, it is a teacher. When a woman knows her worth, she stops allowing her mistakes to define her identity. She understands that she is not the choices she regrets, but the strength she gains from them. She accepts responsibility, learns the lessons, and then lets go. Carrying guilt endlessly does not heal. It only drains. Forgiving oneself becomes an act of self-love, a declaration that I am still worthy of joy, love, and success, despite where I have been. History is filled with stories of people who made grave mistakes, but went on to achieve greatness. What separated them from those who remained stuck was their decision to not let the past hold them hostage. Similarly, every woman has that same power. A failed relationship does not mean she is undeserving of love. A wrong career choice does not mean she lacks potential. A moment of weakness does not mean she lacks strength. Mistakes are moments, not definitions. Think of a book. If you stop reading at chapter 3 because something sad or difficult happened in the story, you would never discover the beauty of the ending. Life is the same. Your story is still unfolding. And one mistake, or even many mistakes, cannot cancel the possibility of a brighter future. In fact, it is often the lessons learned from mistakes that prepare you for greater things ahead. When a woman truly embraces this truth, she becomes unstoppable. She walks with her head high, not because she never stumbled, but because she rose after every fall. She does not hide her scars. She transforms them into wisdom. She does not fear judgment. She knows that those who judge her are often blind to their own flaws. And most importantly, she does not doubt her worth. She knows that her value was never tied to perfection, but to her inherent dignity as a human being. So, your worth is not tied to your past mistakes. They may shape your path, but they do not define your destination. You are worthy not because you are flawless, but because you are resilient, growing, and capable of rising again. Silence can be more powerful than reaction. In a world where everyone is quick to respond, argue, and prove their point, silence is often mistaken for weakness. But in truth, silence is not an absence of strength. It is a demonstration of it. A woman who knows her worth does not feel the need to engage in every battle or respond to every provocation. She understands that not every comment deserves her energy, not every insult deserves her attention, and not every argument deserves her presence. When someone insults or criticizes you, the instinct may be to fight back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But what happens in that moment is that you hand over your peace to them. You allow their words to dictate your emotions. However, when you choose silence, you reclaim your power. You show that their words do not define you, nor do they disturb the dignity you carry. Silence says, I know who I am, and nothing you say can change that. Think of a mountain. No matter how strong the winds blow against it, the mountain does not shout back. It simply stands tall, unmoved, unshaken. Its silence is its strength. Similarly, a woman who chooses silence over unnecessary reaction communicates a strength that words could never capture. People may underestimate her, but deep inside, she knows her worth is beyond their judgment. Silence also creates space for wisdom. When emotions run high, words often come out sharp and regrettable. But in silence, clarity grows. By not reacting immediately, a woman gives herself time to reflect, to understand, and to respond later from a place of calm rather than chaos. Her silence is not avoidance, it is mastery. It allows her to rise above the noise instead of drowning in it. This does not mean silence is always passive. Silence can be active resistance. When someone tries to provoke you and you refuse to give them the reaction they crave, you take away their power. When someone underestimates you and you let your actions speak instead of your words, you prove more than an argument ever could. Silence is not surrender, it is strategy. Many women are pressured to constantly defend themselves, to justify their choices, to explain their worth. But imagine the strength of simply living your truth without explanation. Imagine showing the world through your actions that you are enough, without wasting energy on convincing anyone. That is the kind of silence that commands respect. There is also peace in silence. Arguments, debates, and unnecessary conflicts drain energy. But silence preserves it. By not reacting to every provocation, you conserve your strength for the things that truly matter: your growth, your purpose, your relationships with those who uplift you. Silence allows you to protect your inner calm, and that calm becomes your shield in a noisy world. When a woman embraces silence as power, she begins to walk differently. She is no longer disturbed by every whisper of gossip, every wave of criticism, or every attempt to bring her down. She understands that true worth does not scream, it simply shines. Her silence becomes her dignity. Her calm becomes her weapon, and her presence becomes her answer. So silence, when chosen wisely, is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the quiet strength of knowing that storms pass, opinions fade, and truth always reveals itself. And a woman who knows her worth does not need to react loudly. Her silence speaks with a force that cannot be ignored.